So here we are, spilling the beans. We're delighted to have you at the cookbook store. Now you're a previous author. We've had you before with your wonderful previous books, One Smart Cookie, and they've done really well with both editions of those. But I was delighted now you have a co-author. Does this mean why? So why does Sue? Is this Sue the brains behind all this now?
She actually is.
Is she?
She's the brains and the time management skills in the operation.
Okay.
And we've been best friends since junior high. And she's also one of the best cooks that I know. And I know a lot of chefs and cooks.
Well, I must say, reading the book though, which I love to read my cookbooks, that's why we're here with all these cookbooks. Yes. It reads really well, and it is fun. Like you take a topic that can be kind of dry and kind of like almost too healthy and
beans?
Beans.
Really?
Well, yeah, dry beans.
Okay, yes, I know.
But you make it fun, and that's really good. Now, I must admit, it drives my staff crazy when I flip from the back to the front. I think it's just the way I flip.
I do that too.
Do you?
Yeah.
I never go like this. So I started at the back, which was desserts, and which was great. And you had beans and things I never would have thought about.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you just sort of say, okay, we've got a brownie recipe, let's put beans in, and how do we do that? Or did you actually, how did you manage all of that?
Well, black bean brownies have been around for a while.
Right.
I've never really met a black bean brownie that I really loved, as much as a regular brownie. But years ago I started making cookies with pureed white kidney beans.
Okay.
And we were just trying to make really nutrient-dense cookies for a friend whose daughter was in the hospital. So that sort of evolved, and we figured that we could puree white kidney beans and put them in all kinds of things like pizza dough and bread.
Because you have, and it's remarkable.
Well, and because beans are so high in fiber, there's a lot more fiber than in whole grain, so you wind up with more fiber in this white bread.
There's way more fiber.
I know.
Whole grains.
Oh yes,
it's true. Yes. And there's protein.
So instead of me having a whole grain pizza, I should just put my beans in my pizza dough, and I'll be far further ahead.
Far further ahead, but you still have that texture and taste of white bread, which a lot of people like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can also still you can still use some whole wheat flour, which I often do at home because my family's fine with that.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I've got people coming over, I've got friends of my daughters who are just a little bit less, brown
into
bread
that
friendly.
sort of thing.
Right.
Then you can put the if they're having a sleepover and they're having nothing but junk food and you're making the pizza.
Really?
Then it
why
just nobody knows.
Yeah, and that's what I think too. This is that you've got it in here. You just kind of put it in there without it being a big deal.
Well, exactly. It's not like we're being sneaky about it. It's just, if you can boost the nutrients in what it is you're making with, whether it's with healthy oils or, healthy fats and fiber and just healthy ingredients. And beans are so nutrient dense. They're a huge Canadian crop, and a lot of people don't realize that they're especially in the prairies. They're just huge, as well as out here in Ontario.
Yep.
So it's eating locally. It fits. They're good for the environment. They're good for the soil. And they're so good for us, and yet people don't know what to do with them.
Okay, and now let's get to the next thing too, because now they know what to do with them because they've got the book.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
But practically though, in buying them and things like that, I mean, here's the age-old question: dried versus the canned.
Whatever you're going to end up using.
Really?
Absolutely.
I mean, we were discussing slightly off camera before, a little bit earlier, saying how I'd heard that when they're canned, the manufacturer blasts them at a really high temperature and they lose some nutrition. But you're telling me, obviously, you're expert on this, but they don't, which I didn't realize.
Yeah. My understanding is that there are vitamins that are going to be affected by the heat. But when we're talking about beans being full of fiber, full of protein, that
you don't lose that.
That's not going to be lost.
But you should rinse them though. Like
definitely, which just helps get the salt off.
Right.
So if salt is a concern in your diet, which it is for most of us, then if you rinse them well, then that removes about 40% of the salt of a Canadian.
It also deals with a flatulence issue.
Yes.
What?
I think that's
we're all getting better with that
eventually. But the sludge and the cooking liquid, whether it's the cooking liquid or the canning liquid, you getting rid of that will help.
Okay, because that is another thing people say.
Bunch of small things.
And if you get it is a natural body function.
Absolutely.
Using dried then though versus the tin dried, do you have to soak them all, or are they such now that you don't need to be overnight, or is it? I mean, you say a few things in here about that.
So. We actually ran an experiment in Julie's kitchen, and we soaked one batch of chickpeas overnight and put that batch on at the same time as we took some dry chickpeas in a separate pot.
Yes.
And the ones that had not been soaked took about an extra half hour to cook.
Just to catch up.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
So it's
No.
not, you don't,
It's handy, and it's probably, once again, it probably helps getting rid of some of the oligosaccharides, which are the fancy
big word.
term.
The,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
my big
the
word.
toots.
Yeah,
The toots.
that's it. Yeah, it just helps
Yeah.
break down the.
but you need to soak overnight.
No.
Because who knows what they're going to have the next night for dinner? That's what I always
Always,
think
yeah.
too, right?
You know, and for Julie and I, like lentils, you don't have to soak at all before you.
I know.
But a lot of people don't know
Fake,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
Do not soak your lentils.
Yeah.
Yes.
So easy.
So and then for me, if I'm doing beans for some reason, I'm planning ahead and I'm soaking them, I'll do some extra, cook them up, put them in the freezer,
Yeah.
and you can just pull them out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
that's smart.
if I go tonight, I want beans, then it's usually a can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And don't beat yourself up about that if you're using a tin.
Absolutely
No.
not.
Okay.
Absolutely
Because I
not.
think some
And they're
people think
still
so.
inexpensive, even in
Yeah.
a tin. Like they're
Oh, like
really
a dollar
inexpensive.
nuts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
I mean, this
they're
is such
still-
a. Did you know what was the one thing that you went, oh, you know, like an aha kind of like I didn't realize that about beans or.
We learned a lot about the combination of bean and grain and bean and protein, you know, because
Yes.
beans and
Okay.
grains is one of the oldest culinary combinations. I mean, you see it in cuisines all over the world, which is
ancient.
it's
Yes.
great. I mean, beans are hugely versatile, and so often a bean dish is served with rice or with couscous or
Right.
with quinoa or with bread. Often it's served with protein. So we did a lot of research in that regard, like how much. What's the combination?
Right.
What's the time frame that it completes the protein? So we learned a lot about the scientific stuff that you know a lot of people just don't know or they don't think about in the kitchen.
Right.
But I think one of the big aha moments was when we cooked the beans, the unsoaked beans next to the soaked beans, and it
Didn't make
it
it.
didn't
Yeah,
make
see
much
that
difference.
was really surprising to me when I
Yeah.
read that, and it was
Yeah.
really.
Well, and you can
I
do it in a
thought,
slow
oh,
cooker
thank
too.
goodness.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It was
Exactly.
like, you know,
It's
I
and it's
felt
far less
really-
work. And I think another thing that people sometimes start to worry about is they look at a recipe in the book and they
Yeah.
or in a book and
Yeah.
go, oh, I don't have white kidney beans. I've just got black-eyed peas, and there are very
Yeah.
few beans. Like
Yeah.
chickpeas are a little distinct. Black beans are a little.
But you can
distinct.
interchange pretty much anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's much more often going
Yeah.
to be an aesthetic thing in the dish.
Right.
So you know, I mean, there's a lot of
Like size doesn't matter as much. Like I mean, the size difference from.
it. You know,
Doesn't matter. No, yeah.
Stop
size.
it! We're talking beans.
Size. No.
So the larger beans usually take a little longer to cook as well as
Right.
the age.
Right.
You know, like so chickpeas and the kidney beans will take longer to cook
Yes.
and soften.
Look at
Just
this.
because of size.
But
yeah.
they look beautiful in
They
size,
are.
don't they? I mean, all these
Yeah,
things
they totally
combined.
do. These are split green peas. These are red kidney beans. These are black-eyed peas. These are black beans or turtle beans, they're sometimes called. These are red lentils. These are lima beans. These are dried chickpeas. Yeah.
Now, what do we have here too? We have a little. Of course, I could just taste and see.
The roasted chickpeas, which is one of my
yeah.
favorite things to do with a can of chickpeas. Drain it, roast it either in the skillet, in a nice cast iron skillet, or in the oven. This is a combination of walnut halves, and chickpeas with just spices. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. Sue started making candied chickpeas with bacon and brown sugar.
But everything
There's a
tastes
reason
better
we're
with
so
bacon,
friends.
right?
I know, and maple syrup. Yeah, as like a breakfast side dish.
Is that in the book?
It's brilliant.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that in my
Yeah.
flip through.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Beans. These are ones that everybody knows about. Did you find beans that you hadn't seen before that will become more? Like, do you think there's bean varieties that are going like quinoa?
Absolutely.
Nobody could pronounce quinoa 2
Yeah.
years ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
Bean varieties
Bean-
are different all over the world. All over the
But
world.
do you think we'll see more here in Canada?
Yes, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Even
going to do a
things-
good job of doing that.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's
you
hope.
do.
And-
Like which beans, for example, other beans.
Well, I found
think?
when I was experimenting with
Yep.
different recipes, I found it was actually a type of dal, which is a word
Yep.
for lentils, and they were. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Urad or URAD.
AD. Yeah.
Okay.
Whole beans, and they were almost like a third of a black bean.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're these beautiful little things.
Yeah.
Which it's something that we don't want to call for specifically because they are going to be hard to
Right.
find. But I was just curious. I was
Yeah,
like,
no
let's
kidding.
get a bag of these and
Yeah.
try these. And
But who knows? In a year, maybe they're everywhere.
Absolutely.
And you guys
Yeah.
will be leading. I mean, I
So-
think you're got a terrific book here. I mean, I think
thank you.
it's fantastic, and I'm thrilled to say it's a Canadian cookbook too.
Yes. And with
still in the
Canadian
beans.
ingredients, right?
Exactly, and as you said, beans are very much a Canadian crop. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Thank you
Yeah.
for coming, and
Thanks for
I'll
having
just
us.
start eating now because this was really
Absolutely.
good.
Yes.
Want me to feed you?
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, dear, just put them on my hand. I'm
Load
cupping.
you up.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Excellent.
Pleasure.